Hello and welcome to the program. I am Suren. Many years ago, my ex, now unfortunately deceased wife, whom I loved dearly, joined a cult called Jehovah's Witnesses and opposed me with everything I was and everything I believed in or have done. Many issues have been her concern because she was conditioned to believe that taking part in the beliefs of those others, whom the witnesses considered as the devil worshippers, and me, after they have disfellowshipped me, and encouraging my wife, my family, children, and friends to shun me alongside with them, opposing the ideas of other belief systems. For instance, they were totally against Muslims, considering them amongst other pagans who did not recognize their God, Jehovah. They have condemned, in their own minds and words, the Buddhists, the Hindus, and all others, including, believe it or not, many scientists, whose words they have stolen and printed in their magazines, Watchtower and Awake, oftentimes, yet not recognizing their person, let alone their wisdom, for a long time. They were totally anti-science and understanding, anti-wisdom, and anti-love. I have chosen to study everything they hated, as they did with the entire world, as well as the entire political systems. One of the subjects was spirituality, or spiritualism, using the universal energies to assist the sick recover quickly and be healthy, comforting the mourners and those feeling lost. They, the witnesses themselves, were causing much of the trauma, not only amongst their midst, while breaking their families and destroying, you have heard that correctly, lives. If they condemned a man or a woman being against their outrageously false teachings, however, I decided to study, as I said before, everything they condemned. And here is one of those subjects. Remember that a thief or a pedophile is usually protected by Jehovah's Witnesses within their congregations. But someone talking against their teachings is condemned as a great sinner for talking against the Spirit. It is most unusual because they themselves do not believe or act accordingly with the Spirit. However, without much ado, I would like to talk to you about color. It is not because I'm also an established professional artist, and hopefully without bragging too much, but to me, as a clinical psychologist, also into psychiatry, as well as an artist, the knowledge of color was very important. In the past, I have read a number of books written on this subject, even in relation to UFOs. And as time goes by, I will be telling you more about them. Color can be considered as a curative power. But what do you think that it really means? We have many reasons to believe and accept that the usage of color in the treatment of discomfort, disease, or any other psychological issue, such as the trauma people suffer. And it is not fully recognized science. The method of healing with colors is called chromotherapy. However, one cannot deny the fact that the color and the mind can influence healing in people. Only recently, one has been able to hear much about electricity, radiant treatment of rays, or with rays, and it became gradually recognized at the end. And the etheric forces of nature, as the spiritualists would say, are of more avail than the crude mineral and material substances while treating the patients. Light cure or color healing is completely natural. It belongs to nature as a curing or healing agent. You might or might not know that Italians have a lovely proverb for it, which is dove il sole non entra, entra il dottore. Translation? Where the sun does not enter, the doctor does. Once upon a time, there was a very famed American color scientist, a Dr. E. Babbitt, who patented an apparatus which he called chromolume. It was designed to pass through the sunlight through the colored glass, probably a very cumbersome equipment. Color lamps have been used as for electric lighting and employed successfully. In my range of cases, we need to understand the principles of color therapy. And Dr. Babbitt has proved that was a possibility, and he has written in his book Principles of Light and Color. But this book may not be available any longer, as that was a very, very long time ago. Now, the sun contains everything of which the earth and its inhabitants are composed of. Therefore, it is not surprising to find that the colors which the spectroscope reveals, indicating of various metals and gases, given off in the form of others in varying intensity. Some of those colors, termed as heat or thermal colors, and others are known as cold or electric. Dr. Babbitt spoke about the trinity of colors, namely red, yellow, and blue, representing the three great elements of hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen, which builds much of the world, including the whole of large portion of sugars, starches, alcohol, acids, much of the vegetable world. Plants have been affected by having them subjected, those plants, to different colors of the sunlight through colored glasses. Some plants have grown 4 to 5 times more quickly in the ordinary sunlight, as we read in some valuable literature, when kept on the red light. But when plants were kept on the green or blue glass enclosures, their growth has been slower. Obviously, is the life ray stimulating vitality, while blue and green to slow down. Red light or red ray is certainly excellent in treating certain medical conditions. Blue and green act like sedative and relieving inflammation. We know that fire and anger is always considered as representing by vitality in nature. Therefore, plants like the capsicum, cloves, musk, and others are used as drugs. The tints, and they vary from bright red to dark brown, indicating the heat being expressed by redness, as within inflammation, for instance, fears, and so forth. And speaking of emotions, for instance, people turn red with anger and passion, suggesting warmth, and hence it's a favorite tint in cold weather and in cold rooms. Blue is associated with lack of warmth. Sometimes people call others as being blue with cold. Snow and ice have a blue tint, employed to relieve inflammation. Some drugs are used, usually blue tinted. The chromotherapy is based upon the natural correspondences. Observation shows that people of certain complexion are predisposed to a definite type of disease. And the long-practiced eye of a doctor detects at once the class of disease to which a man is probably likely to have. The two most important colors used in chromotherapy are red and blue. Long-standing or complicated diseases require apparently modification of these, and that can be explained later. Red is normally used where there is lack of vitality, and also nutritional deficiencies are associated with apparent, wherein depression, cold, inflammation, and paralysis are observed. Now, blue is applied to all conditions where inflammation is present. Also, nervous conditions for cooling effect, astringent effect, and healing. Green is very useful. Combined with blue or red and yellow is the brain and nerve stimulant, also known as laxative. The orange ray mixture of red and yellow is very strong in cold or chronic conditions. Other mixtures of colors are useful in their place. We will also talk about that later. Color lamps are effective and should consist of 7 plates or slides, as it is said: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, or purple. In addition to the colored lights, and water is therapeutically used. Usually the water which is charged by the color rays used internally or in fomenting or bathing with. For this purpose, any glass bottle or tumbler may be used. Place some with a little water in the color rays or in sunlight a few minutes and administer in small doses. Clothing exposed to rays becomes charged with special beneficial effects. According to their color, food and water is capable of transmitting the potency of the rays if exposed for a short time to them. However, the taste of the water is not necessarily affected. Now let's talk about color healing theory and practice. Chromotherapy, or color healing, is the treatment of diseased conditions of mind and body by the use of various color rays. Precisely, or concisely speaking, there are two main types of healing: contact healing and absent healing, and spiritualists use this method. In contact healing, use is made either consciously by the operator or under special direction of the ultra or cosmic color rays blended with the natural colors of the physical solar spectrum. Absent treatment is, however, conducted by means of meditation and concentration. The absent patient, having in his possession a small piece of some material vitalized by the healer and symbolizing by its color the basic healing ray. The principle at the back of color healing is the vibrational increase of the physical and etheric cells with the aid of a color projector. The centers or avenues through which force enters are the psychic inlets known as the chakras. In Hindu, wheels or centers of force, of which there are 7 main ones. It is higher vibratory state. The physical body becomes more sensitive and receptive to the healing force, which flows through the healer via the etheric and subtle bodies. Thus, the harmony is corrected. In contact healing, the healer concentrates his mind or eye upon the aura of the patient. And admittedly, some healers seem to see objectively with the eye. Others see subjectively with the mind. Deceased condition or organ will be seen reflected in the aura at a point nearest to the actual counterpart in the physical body. The healing ray is directed at the appropriate chakra or inlet, which is regarded as the patient's center of polarization. If auric clairvoyance is not developed or possessed by the healer, the latter passes his right hand over the patient's body gently and softly until he comes to some part where a vibration of the fingertips or slight oscillation of the finger manifests the seat of the disease. The appropriate color ray is then sensed, and projector is focused upon the glandular center, requiring recharging. A secondary asset in the healing process is a glass of drinking water. which is charged by being held in the healer's hand for, say, 5 minutes. The patient should drink the water very slowly, at the same time absorbing the power mentally. It is not unusual for the patient to declare that the water has a slightly alkaline taste. I have not experienced it. A further aid in the treatment is color massage. The healer, having first washed his hands in tepid water, proceeds to bathe them from 3 to 5 minutes in the full rays of the color lamp. They are then rubbed briskly together, and massage is then given for 10 to 15 minutes or thereabouts. And it is important to realize that color, like other forces and energies in nature, is either positive or negative in its effect, either beneficial or harmful. It is of the utmost importance that we should cultivate the right color vibrations in and around our bodies and surroundings. A great deal of discord and incompatibility between members of families and groups of people closely associated together is caused by cross vibrations, which are aroused by the predominance of someone or more inharmonious colors within some personal order or environment. When the predominating color vibration or auric emanation of any two individuals in close proximity to each other are not in harmony, there is no possible chance for peace or mutual understanding to exist between these persons, unless they can neutralize the inharmonious vibrations by manifesting some other colored vibration, which may blend with the former. By the study and examination of the aura of a person can be determined easily what color vibrations the subject is most deficient in, and what colors should be worn constantly on the body in some form. The necessary color must contact, as nearly as possible, the center of the body requiring recharging, and must be worn until the revitalizing vibrations have induced the new conditions or strengthened the centers. These cross vibrations are largely responsible for nerviness and can never cure ill health. Both the psychological and biological properties of the different colors have to be understood and adapted to suit particular individuals. For example, if you would not only be unwise, but positively harmful for the average Western or European to wear the yellow robe or turban of the Oriental yogi, only in comparatively few cases could the color yellow be beneficially worn continuously by a native of Europe or Americas. The vibrations of red, blue, green are more generally necessary in the West. Powerful effects of color vibrations have been ascertained by many scientists today. For instance, in her book on spectrobiology, Maria de Charpovich writes, "My laboratory work, I have exposed microscopic cells of various organisms such as algae, infusoria, yeast, bacteria, to either direct or diffused sunlight, as well as to various types of artificial illumination through color filters of various wavelengths. The specimens are placed in individual dishes covered with colored glass or gelatin, transmitting only a selected range of light. Ultimate results have proved that each color has a specific function to perform in development of the normal life, and that this life promoting biological potency is contained within a particular range of intensity, correlated to certain elements contained within the protoplasm, or basic life substance, and which, under the stimuli of that color, became actively potent." Those who are familiar with the occult teaching of the sevenfold division of all matter, force, and consciousness will understand the statement that the seat of any disease is in the etheric center of the organ affected. Basically speaking, the energy which is emanated from the white ray of indifferentiated light becomes differentiated as color on the etheric plane. This plane, or vital sphere as it more correctly is, as a screen or sensitized plate which receives and transmits the energy as color within itself, as individual groupings of the different aspects of color. These groups are reflected in the auric sphere of men and then to the etheric body, whence they become the substratum of the organs and different desires of the physical man. While these groups all have some predominating color, they contain potentially all other colors, and these color vibrations being subject to the energy of mind and will are subject to change in degrees of shade and intensity. According to the nature and intensity of the light, forces operating upon or within the groupings, the student may feel inclined to ask, by what process does disease manifest itself? Of old, we have been told that diseases are manacles forged by the mind of men. How are these manacles forged? Take, for example, the case of a victim of consumption at some stage of his existence. He first lays a line of thought, the basic subject of which is intimately connected with one astral center of a physical organ. This line of thought will probably be associated with some form of harmful self-indulgence. And if this wrong activity is more intimately connected with a breath center, the soil or habitat suitable for the disease, elementals of tuberculosis, for instance, will be created in the throat or lungs. These disease elementals are always with us, but they can do no harm until a suitable environment is created for them. They will at once commence to destroy the tissue, forming the organ. As necessary, and iron can only be created by self-indulgence. The conditions for recovery can only be created by sacrifice. The center, the color, must be purified so that it will no longer afford nourishment for the tubercular bacilli, the devourers, I may call it, and this is achieved by a positive mental attitude towards health, and also by the succession of these appetite or habits of self-indulgence, which originally caused the disease. It is also of importance to tune in the physical body with the healing vibrations of nature. The color and light method of treating disease is based on true scientific values. The effect of the majority of ordinary methods is to drive the disease from one plane or organ to another. The view has at times been put forward that light or color cannot produce healing effects unless a vast volume or quantity is used. This is quite erroneous. It is not the amount or intensity, but the quality of light that produces the healing. Increasing or augmenting the quantity does not make any appreciable difference, as the general reactions take effect only after a definite period. This is due to the law of periodicity and the fact that the photoplasmic impulses and reactions occur at definite intervals according to a fixed rhythm pattern. Now, rhythm is the basic expression of all physiological and subconscious mental functions. The whole organism performs various automatic rhythmic actions, such as the heartbeat, the breathing process, the blood circulation. And so, each individual cell performs cyclic processes rhythmically at definite intervals. In view of these facts, we should impress on students the importance of time periods in color therapy. If the exposure is wrongly timed, there is a danger of harm done, even though the color reused is the correct one. The practical point to remember is that the repeated and continuous use of the appropriate colored vibrations is much more effective than a brief exposure to any form of intense radiation. Intense or powerful illumination will produce more heat vibrations, but not necessarily greater healing power. The best length of time for a color or ray treatment is 30 minutes or a little less. The practical application of color to the human body falls into two divisions. 1, general diffusion, and 2, Local concentration. In treatment by general diffusion, the method consists in focusing the light rays all on the body with spatial reference to the back. It is excellent as a general tonic for recharging the tired cells with new vitality. The patient should either sit or lie down in a relaxed position, stripped to the waist, and should be wholly immersed in the light for 30 minutes. Should the treatment be extended to 1 hour? It is advisable for the patient to be in a lying position. The local concentration, the light vibration, is focused on the affected area only. The same color filters are used, the color, of course, being of the requisite for combating the specified disease. An exposure of from 15 to 15 minutes or 20 minutes to the normal procedure, the local treatment then being followed by a general diffusion of 30 minutes. The great value of chromotherapy as a remedial agent lies in the penetrative power of light. Light and color have a direct action on the protoplasm of the body. The speed and power of the chemical and other reactions depend upon the biological state of the organism. Radiation is still a subject little understood by some scientists and are still being discovered. And the penetrating properties of certain cosmic rays are even more marvelous than those of light. Exactly how light penetrates or influences the body is not easy to comprehend. Some scientists are of the opinion that the penetration is simply a process of osmosis or permeating of the cells, but the generally accepted view is that light and color penetrate and influence the body activity by arousing sympathetic vibrations within the organism. In other words, light and color work according to the law of attraction. As most students are already aware, all physical bodies are components of electromagnetic points of energy, or elements in a refined state of rarefication. Concisely speaking, health is the condition of perfect equilibrium between these elements. But that equilibrium is only maintained as long as there is perfect rhythm and harmony throughout the organism. In studying the nature of light, it is important to remember that radiations emitted from a luminous body travel through space in perfect with rhythmic vibrations. Rhythmic vibrations in the form of waves. The point or distance from crest to crest of the vibratory waves is called their wavelength, and their beat or rate of vibration is known as their frequency. The wavelength of various colors differ greatly. For instance, violet light consists of very short waves, while the red light consists of much longer ones. As a wave or light is projected through space, it creates a certain rhythm and harmonious vibration of matter. When light and color strike a surface, the homogeneous particles are thrown into sympathetic vibrations with the incoming current corresponding to the frequency of the stimulating ray. As a result, the organism is revitalized or recharged. If, however, the particles within the body are non-conductive, or an opposite rate of vibration, or if the intensity and power of the incoming current is stronger than the normal resistance rate of the body, then an abnormal reaction will occur, which may produce serious harm or damage. It is extremely important to know the correct nature of the light or color we intend to use, its quality, quantity, and intensity. The whole basis of color healing consists in causing certain molecular reactions in the organs through the medium of the rays. Light, it should always be remembered, is not a force or energy outside us. Light enters into the center of every cell, nerve, and tissue of our bodies. Nature has given us this wonderful form of energy, which is the basis of life, to sustain our minds and bodies alike in perfect health. In conclusion, it may be of interest to mention an important aspect of healing through the aura. The following statement occurred in an address by Laughing Waters, the spirit guide of someone called Ellen Warren, where he says, "It is important that you should live in harmony with colors in your own order, in connection with your own surroundings. You may say, perhaps, that there is certain color which does not suit you. And that is perhaps because deep within your own aura, there is the consciousness which this color is not in harmony with you. Many of you are healers. If you come to someone who is sick, your own guides and help us immediately come close to you and begin to work upon your own aura. That enhances the colors which are needed in your aura to be given to the sick person, that bring great power to you. Perhaps some of you have felt it as a tingling in your fingertips. What is happening is that those of spirit working upon the color vibration, I'm bringing you a particular order, that color which is needing for said person. When you begin to make your little prayer or whatever, the patient becomes tranquil and quiet, and the vibrations of color in your own aura begin to permeate the person and replenish the faded colors where they are needed in the aura of the sick one. There you have it. So much for the color. Anyway, I am going to leave this here for the moment until we meet again by the next episode. Until then, keep smiling and be happy. Thank you.